From the Alex Trebek stage at Sony Picture Studios, this is Inside Jeopardy!
Hello and welcome back to Inside Jeopardy, your exclusive and official podcast destination for all things happening in the world of Jeopardy! I'm Sarah Foss, and I'm here today with Buzzy Cohen.
Hello, Sarah. Happy November, Movember, however you call it.
Whew, daylight savings, kicking in.
A lot going on.
Extra hour of sleep, but you know what? Never works when you have kids.
No.
They don't get the memo.
They don't.
Mm-mm.
Well, we recently celebrated Halloween.
Yes, we did.
Our last pod came out the day before, which means today we will reveal the winner of this year's Deathly Double Challenge. I'm going to give some honorable mentions out there. Hans von Walter dressed up as Pam Mueller, which I thought was a great one. You know, Pam, one of our Jeopardy legends, I would say.
And Pam, I would say, always known for her fashion on the show.
Always, yeah.
Hans did a blue navy gown that kind of mimicked one of her outfits.
I think it was one of her All-Stars looks. You know, she did it instead of outfit of the day, outfit of the J for a while there, which I like. We had a couple as Alex and the new one-day score champion, who was the woman, I believe her name was Joanne.
Interesting total she had for that
$1 more than certain James Holzhauer. We also had last year's winner, Claudine, dressed up as Blossom in the episode of Blossom where she was on Jeopardy.
Love that.
Yeah.
And like then, of course, Whiskey Ginger as
Alexa Trebek.
Yes.
However, these are the honorable mentions. This year's winner is, can we do a drum roll? Mackenzie Wachter, who dressed up as the Las Vegas gambler, high roller, self-described game show villain, and winner of the Jeopardy Masters, James Holzhauer. This was such a fun costume. Posted a bunch of pictures, fanning herself with money, going all in.
She really went full character with this costume.
Yes. I do that too. Do you just, when you wear a costume, you become that character? It's not just an outfit?
Absolutely. Well, and she had props.
Yes, I love a prop.
She had the actual... Well, not the actual. She had a very carefully recreated trophy from Masters, and she told us that her mom actually made that trophy out of a plastic traffic cone, black spray paint, little glittered gold ornament, and bammo, you got a Jeopardy Masters trophy and a winning costume.
Winning costume. So we'll be in touch via a DM or something, Mackenzie, to get you that photograph of Ken Jennings signed by Buzzy Cohen.
You will be only the second person in the world to own such a treasure.
Yeah, I love prop. I really want more props. When I was on The Chase, I kept saying I want props, and I wanted to create my persona to be someone that had props. I kept asking for props, and they're like, no. Every other chaser got props at some point in that season, and I never got a prop.
No props for Buzzy. I had a very large broom with my Halloween costume because you can't be the Wicked Witch without a broom. My husband had his axe, for the Tin Man.
It was great. I saw your family's costume. You did very good. We went trick-or-treating, and there was a house that was Oz. They changed their front walk into a yellow brick road, and they were all dressed up as characters from The Wizard of Oz. It was incredible.
So someone did it better.
No, I don't think their costumes were better, but they created a set around it that they inhabited.
All right, I got goals. I got Halloween goals for next year.
How was the 13-foot animated Jack Skellington?
Oh, awesome. Although he stopped singing and talking after like 1 week, so might have to reach back out to Home Depot.
Yeah.
Well, another, I would say, exciting thing happened last week, and that was on November 1st, which is the launch of Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. Stand Up to Cancer, in collaboration with Jean Trebek, launched the Alex Trebek Fund. Katie Couric and Jean Trebek became friends. Katie really reached out to Jean when Alex was first diagnosed. She wanted to make sure we had access to all of the resources that Stand Up to Cancer had, and make sure that Alex had access to the best doctors and the best research and scientists when he was first diagnosed. And they formed an early friendship. Obviously, Katie had lost her husband to colon cancer, and so she and Jean had been talking about what could they do. And it's a disease that needs more research because obviously, in Alex's case, once he realized that he had pancreatic cancer, it was already stage 4, and that is the case with most people because it is a small organ deep inside the body, so it's not easily able to be recognized. And so Jean made a significant contribution to launch the fund, and Katie Couric's team put together a beautiful tribute video to Alex. Take a listen of just a clip from that.
People were shocked, and right away they were sending so many notes, so many emails, so many sweet gifts.
Jeopardy was such an important thing in his life, that no matter how he was feeling, no matter how rough the treatments were, he could come in here and he would still be Alex Trebek.
Producers would offer, we can delay taping, we could cancel taping. Alex wouldn't dream of it. Alex would go back in the dressing room in a state that no one would think someone could come out and host Jeopardy. And yet the director would get on and announce, all crew to headset, and we'd all get to our positions. And sure enough, Alex would come out as if nothing had happened. You wouldn't even know the pain and suffering that he was going through.
Let's take a look at your response. Did you come up with the right one? No? What is we love you out? That's very kind. Thank you.
And since he was all about the right answer, I think it's very fitting that this fund is now established in his name, and hopefully it will benefit thousands and thousands of people.
Obviously, you can watch the full video at standuptocancer.org or also on the Jeopardy website. You can watch that. I was honored to be a part of it. Not that you ever want to relive what we went through with Alex, but obviously if any good can come out of it, and as Jean keeps saying, Alex was a man who wanted to know answers. He wanted to have answers. He valued knowledge, and she feels like the more that this fund can earn and the more answers there can be to trying to help anyone who will face pancreatic cancer or possibly prevent it in a time that it doesn't take your life will be a great thing. So we're also coming up on the 3-year anniversary of
I was going to say on
Alex
Wednesday. Right.
Trebek's passing on November 8th. In some ways it feels like it was yesterday, and in some ways it feels like it's been way more than 3 years. So we will continue to support that fund. I think is a great way to honor Alex and to make great Jeopardy, which is what he would want us to do. So we're going to have another exciting week of quarterfinal games to highlight for you. Of course, we have our first 2 semifinal games in the Champions Wildcard Diamonds group. And we've got to talk about Celebrity Jeopardy last week. That was a big one. And then later in the show, Buzzy and I are going to be speaking with the Brohawks. Yes, 2 of the semifinalists, TJ Talley and Dave Rapp. They are, I would say, extraordinary on their own, but they have formed this bromance and
a momance.
Oh, look what you did there. And so to have both of them together on the pod, I think will be really, really special. But first off, we're going to take a look back at this week in Jeopardy history.
And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek.
Thank you, Johnny Gilbert. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our eagerly awaited Tournament of Champions for this year. I'm often asked by people who come to our tapings, who make the best players? Well, my response has always been consistent over the years. Attorneys, teachers, students. And by golly, we have one of each with us today. So let's see how it works out. Good luck to you. Here we go.
It was this week 8 years ago when we kicked off the 2015 Tournament of Champions. Of course, the tournament culminated with a very exciting
2-day total point affair.
That's right. It was a final with Matt Jackson, Alex Jacob, Kerry Green. Great competition between all the finalists, but it was 6-game champion Alex Jacob who took home the $250,000 grand prize in the end. He put on a very impressive performance throughout the tournament, and he seemed unstoppable. He was locking up runaways in every game, which is actually a goal he had set for himself coming into the TOC. Even Alex Trebek had applauded his strong gameplay, saying this was the most dominant performance by anyone in any of our tournaments. Alex, of course, Buzzy, went on to compete in the All-Star Games on your team, and we've certainly been hearing for his inclusion in the upcoming Jeopardy Invitational Tournament when that takes place. People are saying Alex Jacob should certainly be on the list. You have a first-hand account of what he's like as a Jeopardy competitor.
He's incredible. I mean, our team did not do as well in All-Stars as we had hoped, but I think that if you look back at the gameplay, he was certainly one of the most dominant players. I think if anyone out there, other than our Masters, has a chance at James Holzhauer, it's someone like Alex Jacob. He really was that style of player before James. He obviously didn't have the kind of incredible success that James had on the show, but when he played, he was very, very good, and he really he taught me a lot when he was on my team. He was my first choice. I had the first draft pick. He was definitely my first choice. He really, I think, showed a new way of playing the game, at least to me.
No, absolutely. And then, it's funny, as James came later, comparing him to Alex in those early games. Alex was a poker player, and James, you're a gambler. And, seeing those similarities. But certainly he was one of the first to really go big and make those big wagers that terrify most people.
And also he has a very similar to James and Chris Pannulo, like that poker face of like
another former
poker player, like that ice water veins of just they're really calm up there and like very focused. You kind of can't see what's going on behind their eyes sometimes, and it was incredible to watch him play.
Well, just highlighting that TOC from 8 years ago gets me so excited about our TOC that is coming up.
Oh my God.
It's going to be incredible, and I can't wait to have a front row seat.
And we're still waiting to find out who some of our contestants are going to be, so let's talk about this Champions Wildcard.
All right, let's get right into the highlights. We kicked off the week with our 7th quarterfinal game. TJ Talley, Sarah Riza, Jay Foster. It was a slow start to the game, but TJ caught fire in Double Jeopardy, never looking back, going on an impressive run, securing a no-doubt runaway heading into final. This was our first runaway of the Diamonds group, and TJ ended the show by saying, "Go Mohawks, yay!"
Yeah, I mean, it's not... I want to go back and say TJ's signature certainly caught my eye.
Yes, the inclusion of the exclamation point, really on point. And TJ, of course, an associate professor of African history, he ends up getting some African history clues during this game. He even joked on Reddit, "I almost cackled when I saw the daily double appear," because he knew it was right in his wheelhouse, and that certainly helped him get to that runaway. I love Sarah's interview. She was talking about watching Jeopardy with her newborn, and just the way that you kind of cuddle a newborn, like a little football style, that their toes were just right in the perfect place to use them gently, of course, to practice her buzzer skills. I thought that was hilarious.
This little piggy wants a true daily double.
That's it, all the way to the market.
Yep.
And there was that category in this game, non-naughty words. And TJ and Dave, who now have their own YouTube series where they're, recapping these games, TJ talked about it was so hard not to yell out the naughty word. Even though we're saying non-naughty, it's a little tempting to do that. And when asked about the semifinals after that big runaway, Ken said, how are you feeling? And TJ said, I'm cautiously optimistic. I feel like this Mohawk is giving me 80% of the confidence. It didn't help him in that category about the jokers. He did respond.
Oh my gosh.
With Heath Ledger incorrectly twice. Thankfully, finally, there was a photo of Heath Ledger, and TJ was able to get in with that one.
I think the only thing that would have been better is if he had not been able to buzz in and someone else got to say Heath Ledger.
Oh, would have maybe. All right. Well, Ken checked in with the players after the game. Let's take a listen.
You seem giddy, TJ.
Well, you think that you're never going to be back on a show, right? And this was exactly 3 years ago. I was one of the last Alex Trebek contestants, right?
Oh, wow.
And now you put your life together and you're like, that's fine. And now they call you and you're like, come on back. And now you get to win. This is insane. This is wonderful.
Is it a good kind of stress when you get that call? Like, you're back.
Did I scream and terrify my neighbors? Yes. But it is the best feeling. But it's like your entire life gets rewritten in a second. And so you don't know what's happening.
You don't know which way it's going to go. Is there any degree of trepidation when you get that call? Or were you both eager to come back?
I was eager. Yeah.
It gets in your blood, you know?
No, but I agree. There was this moment where you're like, that was then, I did it. How often do you get to do a bucket list thing twice, right? So I think I had a moment when I was like, should I? Do I want to? Okay, yes, I did. And my husband was like, No, you definitely do.
There's a funny thing where, it's like you just tried out a new sport for the first time and you're great at it, and then someone tells you the next day, oh, and you can never play this sport again.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You've gotten to do it a couple of times.
I got luckier than most, but I understand. Like, I would kind of jones for it. I'd be like, boy, I wish I could play Jeopardy again.
It's fun.
All right, moving on to Tuesday with Aaron Craig, Hari Parameshwaran, and Katie Hargrove. Hari and Aaron really battled it out in the Jeopardy round and in Double Jeopardy, and despite losing $7,600 on a true daily double, Hari was able to fight his way back into the lead by the end of the round. Unfortunately, none of our players was able to come up with the correct response in final, but that strategic wager from Aaron in second place allowed him to take the win. This hurt, though, because, wow, Hari, to end up with that score after losing that much on a daily double.
Yeah.
Whew.
Shows a lot of guts and grit. Very, very impressed. Hari, hold your head up high, because that's a hard thing to come back from. It's hard to lose it all on a true daily double and, just get back into the game. It's very easy. We've seen it so many times in the regular show. We've seen it in some of these competitions. It doesn't go your way, and you kind of just get in your head and you're replaying it. But Hari really did exactly the right thing. Didn't come out his way. Another week of tough finals.
This was the Halloween episode.
Spooky.
And yes, and we had a cape, actually. Our wardrobe person, Steven Zimmelman, had this beautiful vampire cape, and we were considering having Ken walk out in the cape because we know Alex loved a costume. We ended up deciding, we won't have him walk out in the cape, but he did model it for everyone. And we did use it for one of our social posts about our 13 spooky days leading up to Halloween. So, even Ken likes a bit of a costume. But one thing that was a little Halloween themed was his tie. And I would like to tell everyone that was an Alex Trebek tie. So we have some of those.
I noticed the tie, but now I love it even more knowing that backstory.
Yeah, we have some of those still in our collection. Actually, at Alex's service, everyone was gifted one of his ties.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And so that's a tribute that a lot of people have. But there are still some that we've kept for Ken. And so every once in a while, there's a little Alex Easter egg in the show.
That's awesome.
Let's move on to Wednesday, where we saw the return of Dana Hill, Nancy Donhauer, and Dave Rapp, our second Mohawk that we've seen in this Diamonds group, and obviously part of the Brohawks. This was an exciting game. Dana and Dave were neck and neck heading into Double Jeopardy, but Dave unfortunately missed a big $5,000 daily double. Dana then appeared to be running away with it until Dave found that last daily double. He went all in $9,000. And he was correct. He skyrockets back into the lead heading into final. He was also the only one to come up with the correct response in final, so he secures that last spot in the semifinals. Of course, in the interview, everyone's wondering about this Mohawk, including Ken. So Dave revealed that he had switched the Mohawk color because he was told from his earlier appearances that the purple, kind of blended in with the purple of our set. So he didn't want to be accused of being subtle. We could never accuse you of that, Dave. But his daughters helped him come up with a color that popped, and it's kind of like a fuchsia.
Yeah, I actually like how it's almost like the tie and the Mohawk are one line down the center of his body. It's very cool.
Yeah, he went to take his picture with Ken, and Ken was like, I can't even tell if I'm shorter than you or taller than you. It's really hard to tell with that super tall Mohawk.
And here's another person coming back from a tough daily double loss and just kind of gutting it out.
Yeah. And then Dave Rapp is back on Thursday as a semifinalist up against Emily Sands and Yoshi Hill. Great start to the semifinals. Dave and Emily neck and neck until Emily found both daily doubles in Double Jeopardy. Not much you can do when someone finds those and adds $10,000 to their score. Emily secures an impressive runaway win and is our first Diamond Champions wildcard player to punch their ticket to the finals.
Brava, Emily. Well played game against two tough competitors.
Yeah, heading into Friday, we closed out the week with TJ Talley, Leah Wiegand, and Aaron Craig. Another close Jeopardy round between all three of our players. Aaron taking just a small lead heading into Double Jeopardy. There he misses a big $4,000 daily double, but manages to work his way back into the lead when Leah was incorrect on her big $5,000 daily double. Aaron then locks up a narrow runaway on the final clue and becomes our second finalist.
Yeah, Aaron with 2 not super convincing wins, but he is in the finals, and anything can happen if he just, turns it on. I'm excited to see what he does.
Yeah, and TJ knows at this point he can't win the game, so he decides to make a hilarious callback to his quarterfinal game where he couldn't come up with Heath Ledger until the 3rd try. He says, "Hey, who is Heath Ledger and love you, Mom."
Let's talk celebrity.
All right, let's head back to Wednesday night in primetime for our 6th Celebrity Jeopardy quarterfinal game with Dule Hill, Cheryl Underwood, and Peter Facinelli. It was a tight game throughout the first 2 rounds, a lot of fun being had by all. Dule starts to pull away in Triple Jeopardy, and with the help of 2 correct daily doubles, he was able to earn a runaway win heading into final. Dule and Cheryl did come up with correct responses, but it didn't matter. Dule already headed to the semifinals. Ken kind of set this game up ahead of time on Twitter. He said, "I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm pretty sure there is more tap dancing in tonight's Celebrity Jeopardy than in all of the previous 40 years of Jeopardy combined." Dule, of course, did tap dance, and these players were having a lot of fun up there.
A lot of fun. I from a gameplay standpoint, I'm kind of fascinated with the Daily Double approach. Just going to throw that out there. I think our listeners know where I stand on this, but a lot of fun had in this game. And really, that's what it's all about.
One reminder about Celebrity Jeopardy. We're going to take a break this week, so there won't be a new episode because we have the Country Music Awards on ABC. But we will be back on November 15th with Macaulay Culkin, Rachel Dratch, and Becky Lynch. This is a great game. You will not want to miss it. All right, it's time for our host chat. An audience member asked Ken, this was a question Alex often got asked as well, how many suits do you own?
This is only my 2nd full year doing this, so I have many fewer suits than Alex did. He left a wonderful gift where most of his suits went to an organization that helps dress up kids doing their first job interviews. So people from underprivileged backgrounds could wear like an Alex Trebek suit to their very first job interview, which is great. I just asked my wardrobe guy this. I think I now have 23 suits back there, and they're nicer than anything I have at home. Like this is the only place I look good, and luckily they put this one on TV.
I think I have 23 suits.
Well, that
I'm going to go home and count.
Me. Yeah,
I'm going to go home and count. We'll come
get
back.
your suit count. I want to know. I think he's definitely got you beat on shirts and ties.
Probably,
You could be right up there with suits.
I just got 2 more suits, so I think I might be securing my spot. Ken's got the 74 wins. I want one thing. I got to have one thing.
One thing that you can win. All right. You can win suits, Buzzy. Just give it time. It is now time. I've been waiting for this all pod. It is time to welcome champions wildcard semifinalists Dave Rapp and TJ Talley. Dave and TJ, thanks for joining us on the pod.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. What a pleasure. I'm delighted.
Yeah. We're so happy
I have to say, TJ and I go way back to Cinco de Mayo 2020. The heart of COVID.
So true.
And I was working, with the contestant department, and I did TJ's initial audition. And I have to say, TJ, I left that audition. I said, I've found the next super champion. This guy is incredible. He did so well on the test. He's got great personality. Like, this is our next great Jeopardy super champion. So then we come to your first run later that year, and yes, you win, but you didn't go on the super run that I was expecting, TJ.
How does it feel to let down Sarah?
I mean, as both an academic and also a former gifted child, I expected to be a lot of things, and yet here we are. This is what we are today. No, I'm still thrilled that it even happened, right? Because Sarah, we met at the very beginning of the Panna Cotta, right? We were in the middle of this Pan Dulce, and we were just like, what is going on? And so I'm excited that it happened at all, and that I got to be a final Alex Trebek Fiesta contestant. But at the same time, it is wild because it was this moment of like, I felt really good on the buzzer. And then just in that first run, honestly, I just overwagered and it was not my game. It was a bummer.
Yeah. Well, it happens on Jeopardy. I mean, that's why we have things like Second Chance now and Champions Wildcard. For those of you who may have only been a 1-game winner, but to come back and have a chance to show on any given day, anything can happen.
Yep.
Dave, talk us through your original run and how that was for you. You came with a purple mohawk, I should say, the first time. TJ, of course, came with a blue mohawk originally.
I was crushed to find out that I was not the first mohawk. So I won my first game. I'm feeling good. And then my second day, I come out and Ken's there, and he's like, "So you're nothing special. Here's some footage of TJ." And I was like, "Man!" So
I know.
It was
we had to do it, Dave. I mean, the fact that we had 2 mohawks, within a certain amount of time on Jeopardy, we had to do it.
Yeah. No, but my trip here was very long. I first tested, I think, in 1996. I was living in Phoenix and drove over to Culver City and got a hotel and tested on the stage, sitting in the audience, and was a nervous wreck. And then I tested, I'm not even sure how many times over the years, 7 maybe. And just, I get so anxious up there. I knew I was passing the test and getting called back, and was a bundle of nerves on the buzzer. So I just had to get more confident with that before, I was finally ready to get on the show.
Yeah, and you come and you win 3 games, Dave. That's impressive.
Yeah, that was great. Wish it was a little bit more, as everybody says, but I am the winningest Mohawked Jeopardy champion.
I was a second away. It's fun and self-deprecating when I say it, David. It's meaner when you say it, David.
Everything's meaner when I say it.
I think it's said with love, nonetheless.
Absolutely.
Dave, but you came so close to being a TOC qualifier. So what's that like to win 3 and know one more game, you could have been in?
Yeah, it is difficult, but honestly, my very first game, again, I was so nervous, but I was just so happy to finally be there after all those years. And all I wanted to do was not embarrass myself and make it to Final Jeopardy. That was like my short list of accomplishments. And then I started playing the game, and I started hitting things on my dream list of accomplishments. Run a category, get a daily double, get it correct. It was a lock game to have a runaway game. I did everything on my first game except make a true daily double, and of course make it to the Tournament of Champions, which you can't do with one game. So, it was dream beyond dream just in my first game.
Well, fast forward to Champions Wildcard. I have to say, as producers, when we're going through the pool of players and we come across, we've got 3 potential Mohawks. We have 3 champions, all with Mohawks from season 37 and season 38 that we can bring back. Let's go wild. Let's put them all in the diamonds and just see what happens with the Mohawks. Talk me through, TJ, hearing about Champions Wildcard and getting that call and knowing you're coming back, and what do you do with the Mohawk?
Oh my gosh. So it's so surreal, right? So like all of us, we sort of emotionally packaged and put this away. It is exactly 3 years since I'd been on, right? And so I sort of was like, what a fun and sassy part of my life this has been. I enjoyed this sort of delightful chapter. And then y'all call me 2 weeks before the school year starts and wonderfully upend my life in the most delicious of ways. And so I find this sort of moment of, I don't know how to process this new possibility. I was like, this could be a moment of sort of at least showing what I didn't have before. I feel very much like some sort of reality show contestant that was like, I went home too early. It's my chance to show who I am. But the funnier thing is, because of Ken's reference to Dave as at the moment, the second winning Mohawk contestant, and then the winningest Mohawk contestant, the disrespected nature of all of this is noted. And but this happened, and so it meant that on Valentine's Day 2022 is when this happens, and I'm like going for a run, and then suddenly I get all of these text messages like 2 or 3 hours, like because of the time zone difference. I'm in California, and people on the East Coast and the Midwest are like, "Did you see? There was another Mohawk." And so then inexplicably, I am linked with this sassy hair genius over here, and so the fun part was when I find myself back. And we're at the hotel, right? I walk out, and we don't know who any of the other contestants are, right? It feels almost like a murder mystery where you're like, which one of us is going to be? So you roll into the lobby, And I stop in the middle of the lobby and I just silently swear under my breath because I'm just like, oh, there's Mohawk McGee over there. And Dave, of course, has no idea who I am, right? He's never seen me. And at the time in 2020, my hair was, of course, electric blue, because all of us dealing with the ennui and the self-loathing and the insanity of being on the Ponder replay of 2020 was this sense of, I was like, let me dye my hair. And so I had this sort of very electric blue hair, and I had dyed it the day before you guys called me, right, in 2020. And I was like, well, this is what we're going to do. And so I'd grown it out this time, and I really had a moment where I was like, well, maybe, it'll make a bit of a difference if I have it be my natural hair color. It'll be all right. And then, of course, I walk into the lobby, and there is this, fire engine fuchsia sitting in front of me, casually just minding his business. And I was like, oh, I have to fight someone? This is a lot. This is a lot at 8 a.m.
Dave, what was it like for you to get the call and then realize you're going to be up there with, not on the stage at the same time, but you're going to be there with TJ?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, John called me, and I had him in my phone, luckily, so I knew who it was, and I picked up the phone, and the first thing he says is, don't worry, you didn't do anything wrong, which immediately made me think, what did I do wrong?
Naturally.
And he asked if I would be interested in coming back. And I'm like, does anybody say no to that? Unbelievable. Like, never would have imagined it. I didn't know that TJ was going to be there. So the other side of that lobby story, he's wearing a hat, by the way. So I don't know that it's him. So, but I see somebody walk into the lobby and clock my hair and try to suppress a look of anger. And I'm like, oh, I think I know who that is. So of course we sat next to each other and immediately became best friends. We both shot in the second day, and we spent the whole first day being like, they're going to put us together, right? They have to. Who's the third person that's going to be with us, and can we convince them to put their hair in a mohawk?
We couldn't go that far. We didn't put you actually in the same game. But that first day when you were in the audience watching the games, I mean, Ken even joked, like, well, those of you who weren't sitting behind someone with a mohawk, I hope you had a good view. And the rest of you, sorry, so sorry. But the bromance began, right? That day, the bromance began.
It really did, because I think that it could have gone one of two ways, right? It could have been like, oh, hello, mohawk. Nice to meet you. But instead, we both were like, oh, you are barely an adult. And I am super drawn to the fact that you are absurdly, deeply clever with a wide reach in trivia knowledge, highly anxious, and also filled with a sense of the absurd. And that's when literally the phrase "the Brohawks" was born.
Well, both of you had great initial games. Obviously, you both advanced to the semifinals. So when it came to the Champions wildcard, you really were on equal footing. And sadly, we didn't get to see either of you in the finals. But I think what both of you have talked about is just what this experience meant, not only to the two of you and your Brohawk bromance, but to this group of 27 that really has come together, and you have a whole new community, a whole new group of friends.
Yeah, it is the most aggressive group chat I have ever been on in the history of phoning. It's great, right? Like, my initial game competitor, Sarah Rez, is great because she really sort of stepped up and said, no, this is something special. Let's all be in touch. And we really did sort of form a really kind of close-knit community. And so it's been really nice to get to know all of these people better. And in so doing, right, this inspired Dave and I to be even more ridiculous than we would have been singularly, right? You have created a sort of gestalt of double absurdity for us. And so we started doing recaps of the games as the Brohawks, right? So how did we think about what the experience was like for us? And it's been a real treat to sort of go through each of those episodes and sort of explain how we felt and what that process is like.
Dave, how about for you?
Oh, man. I've listened to the other contestants that have come on, and we all have the same thing. We got a chance this time to actually hang out with each other instead of just being there for a day or whatever. And it meant so much, and it was instant bonding all around. But also, we're still competitive trivia nerds, so our diamond bracket we think we're the best bracket. So we're better. We're like, no, like we heard that the other brackets are cool, but we're definitely better friends than the spades bracket people, right? And what's going to happen with the hearts and the clubs? Yeah, so we're ready to rumble, I guess is what we're saying.
It's true, right? And I taped with Fred Nelson, who I love dearly. And so we taped back in our sort of final Trebek days. And I was delighted to see that he had moved on into the next unit. And then I immediately was like, but they're not as good as them.
Throwing it down.
Are they?
So you two had very different experiences in your quarterfinal games. TJ with a very, very strong game. Dave pulling it out when you needed to. How did you feel the gameplay was different this time compared to your first time on the show?
Oh, well, for me, the buzzer was definitely an issue. You know, sometimes you're in the groove and sometimes you're not. And even from the practice rounds, I noticed that the timing was just not what I was used to, that the light was coming on before I was expecting it. So I now had to adjust my tactics and sort of look for the light instead of listening for the cadence of the question. And that was definitely challenging on the fly to do that.
And how about for you, TJ? What felt different coming back this time from your last two games on the Trebek stage?
Well, I think one of the things that felt really great, and I think sort of that was that moment of feeling like I had not gotten to show truly like what I had. Like I did well in my first game, and I still commanded a much of the board in my second game, right? But there was this sort of moment where the synergy just really happened, and I am good at a buzzer. I can get the timing quite well, especially when I feel confident about the question. And so that first game just felt magical, right? There's that moment where, despite the fact that apparently I am unclear about the concept of Heath Ledger, I'm not sure if he is a person, a place, a thing. Maybe we're all Heath Ledger. But the sense of like, despite that debacle, like there was that moment in Double Jeopardy where I just sort of pull ahead and I just felt in this zone, right? Where I was like, no, I know it. That is it. And then there were these sort of great moments, right? Where you get really lucky with a category, right? So there was the Bring Out Your Fred. And there was a question about F.W. de Klerk. Or I got the Daily Double and it was an African history question, which is what I do for a living. So I was like, this is delightful, right? And it felt really validating in some way to be like, okay, I'd had a shorter run. I may have been the shorter Mohawk in terms of both actual hair length and time on the Alex Trebek stage. But there was a chance where I could really show this sort of great moment. And it felt really, really good just to sort of have that moment of that sort of visibility on the stage.
And now a quick word from our sponsor.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage? Shopify's there to help you grow. Shopify helps you sell everywhere, from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person point of sale system. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. They help you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. What I love about Shopify is how user-friendly it is. It's so easy to build the web shop of your dreams, and Shopify gives you everything you need to take control and take your business to that next level. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. They're the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way, because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Jeopardy, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Jeopardy now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Jeopardy. You can understand sounds no matter what language you speak or are learning. Like that. the sound of a right answer in Babbel. This fall, you can start speaking a new language with Babbel. Why Babbel? Because it works. Instead of paying hundreds of dollars for a private tutor, Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are designed by over 150 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Babbel is designed by real people for real conversations. All of Babbel's tips and tools for learning a new language are approachable, accessible, rooted in real-life situations, and delivered with conversation-based teaching. All of you know what a fashion lover I am, so when I found myself in Paris this summer, I had to do some shopping, and Babbel's French courses helped me navigate the shopping experience. With over 10 million subscriptions sold, Babbel is real language learning for real conversations. Here is a very special limited time deal for our listeners to get you started right now. Get 55% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/InsideJ. Get 55% off at babbel.com/InsideJ. Spelled BABBEL.com/InsideJ. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Now, back to Inside Jeopardy. I want to circle back a minute to the community conversation. I've heard you say in the Diamonds group that Sarah is your mom and that Brian Adams is the Diamond grandpa. Have they owned up to these roles within your group?
They freely admit their familial relations, right? So Sarah is the mom for sure. And yet Diamond grandpa is the best grandpa, right? He knows what he's doing. Yeah.
I love that.
We are not the dads. Dave and I
goodness.
are the irresponsible uncles
Obviously.
that are busy sort of playing with fireworks or buying fun
Yeah, we're
games
the
for
Fred.
children.
We're the
That's
Fred
about
and George
it.
Weasley of the group. We're twins somehow, and we cause all the problems.
But all joking aside, Dave, you are a dad in your real life, aside from your Brohawk life. And something that was different about this competition is that you got to have your daughters in the audience seeing you just rock it with a red mohawk or bright pink or whatever color it is on the Alex Trebek stage.
Yeah, that was amazing. We've talked about how anxious I am and how nervous I get. And so I didn't know how I would react to having an audience there because it was just the other competitors last time I was on. And I felt like that was better for me. But I told my daughters before I went out, I'm like, I might not make eye contact with you because I don't know if I can handle it. And then I walked out and I immediately looked for them in the audience and made eye contact. And I was so happy that they got to be there for that and got to see me win, but also that they just got to see me do it because both of them have anxiety issues too. And I wanted to show them like, you can have the anxiety and still go up and do the thing that's hard. And it becomes more valuable because you worked through it and did it.
Well, you guys mentioned the Brohawks YouTube series where you're going through the games. I want to talk about something you spoke about in a recent episode, the strange feeling, which I can corroborate, of being nervous ahead of the games airing, even though you know the outcome.
Oh, boy.
I experienced this. Like, you know what's going to happen, and yet you still have that pre-show jitter. Where do we net out on this, guys?
It is the most obnoxious and disrespectful truth, right? This sort of moment of, I knew that I was going to win on Monday, and I woke up on Monday in a cold sweat saying, I hope I do well. Now, what?
So here's my theory on this. We know the outcome, but I don't know about you guys, but the actual course of the game is kind of a blur. And for me, I was like, did I do or say anything embarrassing? Did I miss something I should have known? That kind of stuff, I think, was part of my, I don't remember how this went versus I know how it ends, but I kind of don't remember how it goes.
Absolutely true. I just watched my quarterfinal game and the categories came up. I'm like, nope, that doesn't sound familiar. Nope, don't remember that. Well, I wonder how I do in this one. And so it's that exactly. It's what are the people that are watching going to think? Because I don't know how I looked. I don't know any of the faces I made or the tics that I did and what's going to come across. So did I embarrass myself on national TV? I guess is the source of the feeling.
Well, and we collectively refer to this in the group text as JFS, right? The Jeopardy fugue state, where you just are sort of in this moment and you have no recollection. You remember that you were in a podium, you're in front of a podium, and that there may or may not have been buzzing involved. you hope that you do well. And so I think you're absolutely right, Leslie. There's this sense of you've seen it, but you have no idea how it actually goes. You know the actual result, but you don't know how you're going to be viewed or seen by anybody.
It's a bit like knowing the roller coaster ride ends where it starts, but that doesn't make it any less stressful.
That is the perfect analogy.
That's fair.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Sarah just looked at me like, wow,
you.
Where'd you come up with that?
Someone's earning his podcast cred.
Finally.
It's about time.
It's about time. Well, if you've listened to our other interviews, you know that I have two questions I must ask.
Burning questions from Buzzy.
As the great French interviewer Bernard Pivot often asks, what is your lunch order when you join us here on the Sony lot?
Well, my original taping, I was trying to keep the nerves at bay, so I went as plain as I could get. It was a turkey and cheese sandwich, and I took maybe 3 bites. Both of my tape days. When I came back, I still wanted to keep it in the sandwich family. I did a panini, I think, the first couple days, and then on the last day when I knew I was absolved of any stress, I went for the poke bowl. I think.
Oh my god!
Another poke bowl
people in the poke bowl,
and just ate it, not caring what was going to happen.
All right. Well,
TJ, talk some sense into us. What's your lunch order here at Sony?
I'll do my level best. Also, Dave, you looked absolutely gleeful when you attacked that Pokeball. I was like, all right, sir, this is... It's a family program.
Something I've never heard anyone say about anyone eating the Pokeball here at Sony, but go on.
Yeah, just gleeful attack on this fishateria. So, of course, when I was on in September 2020, right, we were eating sandwiches in a parking garage, right?
The good old days.
Which is a different experience. So I just had the veggie sandwich. I already joked about this with the divine Emily Sands. If you are a vegan, it is impossible to go 10 minutes without letting someone know that you are. So I apologize. Hello.
I think you've made it about a half hour into this so far, 25 minutes.
You're
See,
great,
I am so rare for me. I should have just interrupted and been like, Sarah, I understand vegan.
Exceptional in every way, TJ.
Go on. I'm so amazing. And yet Dave is still the most winning Mohawk. Disrespectful, churlish. So for me, when I got there, I was actually delighted by the sort of panoply of options. And so when I got there, I was like, I rolled up to sort of the slightly international / roasting oven-y station. And I was like, what weird sauces and grains do you have that are also fake meats? So both times, like the multiple days, I was like, I will have this soy meat fiesta in a sort of delightful sauce. And then I found that apparently for my anxiety, I would squirrel away a dark chocolate bar without any but then I would refuse to eat. I just didn't realize that I hadn't eaten them. And so I did this each day of the taping, and I got home and I opened my bag and I was like, how do you have 3 dark chocolate? What, sir? What in the name of a strange type of squirrel are you?
That's your emotional support chocolate.
That is what I told everyone else. Yeah, that's fair.
And I know we haven't talked a ton about stats, but do either of you or each of you have a Jeopardy stat that you are most proud of?
Oh, I think I actually never double checked it, but in my first game, I think I got 30 correct and missed 1. And my nephew sent me that info and with like a Michael Jordan graphic, like I was gonna go on a crazy run.
Your first game of the initial run, yeah?
Yes, when I was initially on the show.
We're checking the stats.
Yeah, we're checking the stats.
Correct,
30 correct,
Dave,
including
30
2
correct responses. Bam. Those are good stats.
That's good stats. TJ, what do you got?
I buzz very frequently, and I'm usually right, but I would say that the out of all of these, what really just felt most amazing, so not a sort of immediate Coriat or like other sort of stat, is the fact that first game in this new wild card, that it was a runaway.
Yeah.
Right? Like I was not anticipating, and it was, there was this sort of moment of suddenly, it didn't occur to me until I got the double Jeopardy, right? And I got the Carthage answer right, and I had risked 4,600, and then suddenly I was at 19,000, and there was no discernible way that someone could catch up. And there is suddenly this intense, terrifying feeling in your body where the anxiety is no longer real. And to play a game of Final Jeopardy where it is immaterial is one of the most surreal and least anxious moments.
Yeah. And then you had a chance to bring Heath Ledger back into Final Jeopardy.
Well, here's the thing, is that what was very surreal for me, Sweet Sarah, is the fact that both of my games in the wild card were runaways. And so now I immediately can understand the emotional and psychic damage that I inflicted on Sarah and Jay. I was like, oh, that right? Like that sort of moment, because it was the sort of moment that Aaron in the semi, in the last question, in the very last question, made it a runaway. And in that moment, it allowed me, because I was in that moment where I knew it was Richard III, and then I was like, TJ Talley, there's no way that you need to prove to people that you know who Richard III is in this moment. What you do need to do is make a Heath Ledger reference. And I was like,
TJ, you're very fun and affable, but I think deep down you take pleasure in making people cry.
Oh, I am a college professor, Sue Buzzy, and so yes, you have figured this out immensely.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, well, Dave, you and I have something in common in that we are both lefties.
Oh.
And Buzzy and Buzzy.
It's like I'm not even here. It's like I'm not even here.
I think not everyone at home knows, and you now know, that for lefties, Buzzy, did you experience this in your initial times, that trying to write with the stylus was
harder.
Difficult for the lefty because you got to pull it all the way across, and you got to bend over close. Yeah. And now it's wireless.
Shut up.
Dave got to play with a wireless stylus.
Must be nice, Dave. Must be nice.
Tell us what that's like for a lefty, Dave.
It was, and thank you for bringing this up, because I was legitimately excited. I was one of the most excited people, because it's so awkward to pull the wire and give yourself enough slack to write your thing, and even so, like, you know, TJ has his fantastic name, and Steve in our bracket made his name with the whole Las Vegas sign. And I look like a 4-year-old when I write my name, because I'm always just trying to keep the wire out of the way. And this time, I was just over the moon about it. And yet still my handwriting looked like I was in 4th grade.
Well, there's a couple things. You know, nobody knows how to teach lefties how to write. So we all have bad handwriting.
Yeah.
And Speak for yourself, Buzz. You have beautiful handwriting.
Well, now that I know it's wireless, I feel like I'm going to be talking to the new contestants like an old timer, like I used to have to walk to the stage barefoot uphill both ways. Like I used to have a wire. It's like when I did these interviews for This Is Jeopardy, and they're like, people used to pull the cards to reveal the clues. That's what I feel like now. Thank you.
Times are changing in this world. I mean, that was a big thing.
Huge.
Dave coming back and having that experience. I'm really happy we could provide that for you. Now, I know the two of you both pitched me on the Brohawks being the new Clue Crew. And how did that go over when we chatted about that? I want to know how you felt.
On your end of the conversation. How did you feel on your end of the conversation?
Initially, we had pitched it to Jimmy, and then immediately had somebody come up to us right afterwards and be like, don't pitch a new Clue Crew to the Clue Crew. And I'm like, but he has a good job now. And somebody needs to bring back the Clue Crew. And so then we pitched it to you, and I've never seen a wall of ice come up faster. I don't believe it was like, you shouldn't say that to me. And I was like, okay.
I was like, how is this Zeppelin made of lead? How did this happen? Like, it's not going. It just
fell right out of the sky.
And Jimmy and I do have great jobs, but let's be honest, the Clue Crew,
greatest job
in the entire world.
Why do you think I'm lobbying for it?
Right? Exactly.
Right.
So
that is why.
I'm just saying,
we were both
if that's going to happen, I'm growing a mohawk, because I'm going on those trips. That's all I'm saying.
We also joked this week about, obviously, we said this on the YouTube. I was like, clearly, Dave, you are the Sarah.
Yes, I did hear this part, and I loved it.
That's fine, right? And now, even more so, because we're like, the left-handed part makes even more sense.
There you go.
That's fair. See, it tracks. 100%
the key is you have to start out with someone who looks exactly like Dave, but is named Sophia.
This is deep.
A deep Clue Crew reference.
Deep Clue Crew reference from the original Clue Crew.
We're whiffing our audition.
Wait,
we're whiffing our audition.
We already blew it. We blew it a long time ago.
Yeah, if you think you're whiffing it now, I have some terrible, terrible news for you, TJ.
Okay, Clue Crew aside, what's in store? What can we anticipate for the future of the Brohawks?
What's Brohawks 2, The Search for Curly's Gold, look like?
Wow. Talk about deep references there, Buzzy.
That was an excellent deep cut, Buzzy.
That's what I'm
My
here
God.
I've earned my keep. I've had
You
two
really
good
have.
ones today.
I mean, I think you could just
Better
stop
than I
now.
usually
You're
do.
so far ahead. But really, aside from Buzzy's deep cut, what's ahead for you guys? We want to know. People want more of these guys.
Oh, well, it's fun that you think that. We're not convinced, but that's not going to stop us. We're just talking today. Like, what are we going to do? Because we're coming up on the end of the diamond bracket. And do we continue into the other brackets? This sounds so hokey, but like, I love getting a chance to see him every day and talk about stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty true.
And
I love this.
It's really...
So,
have you guys thought about teaming up to fight
It's actually
crime?
obnoxious. First off, if we... Or cause it. I don't limit us. Maybe we're also super villains. I don't know. But yeah, this has been the weirder thing, right? And this will feel like Buzzy circa last week, but maybe the real Brohawks are the friends we made along the way. But really, in some way, like the fact that like this is great. We had this sort of intense friendship bond out of this group, and we realized that our banter is born out of being quick and clever and also patently self-aware that we're barely adults. So all of this works really well. And we joked about this even today as we were recording. We were like, well, if you would like us to keep doing this, anybody, let us know. If you're like, you guys should stop, we would also not listen to you, but we would feel more empowered if people were interested. So we're jazzed. This has been an absolute treat, and our relationship to Jeopardy has been what a dang gift to be able to do this and be part of this sort of fun adventure. It's great.
Well, aside from your friendship, Dave, what would you say has been the best part of this Jeopardy journey?
Aside from the friendship, that's
I know.
that's really
It's
the
hard
whole
to
thing.
think.
I guess we'd have to circle back to having my daughters see me. Also, actually, in my semifinal game, I got to give a shout out to my mom, who I lost in 2017. So she's the reason I started watching Jeopardy. She watched the old version, and I watched the very first episode of Alex with her in 1984, and that was the thing that we did together. And she was one of those super fans where if you called while Jeopardy was on, she was not going to answer the phone. So she didn't get to see my initial run, and that is a real bummer. But the fact that I got to be on the stage and give her a shout out is definitely something that I'm grateful for.
Mom's rule.
Absolutely. How about for you, TJ?
So I will also go this sort of family route, right? So one of the things is that in 1991, my grandmother was on a show called Classic Concentration.
Yes.
That was
Love
hosted by none other
Concentration.
than Alex
Yeah.
Trebek. And so there's this great moment where my grandmother wins a car, and she's like, "I'm excited for my 6-year-old grandson to see it," who is me. So my grandmother passed in 2016, so I didn't get a chance to sort of share this experience with her, but I know that she would have deeply enjoyed it. But there was this also moment of not being able to have it with anybody was such a shame. I'm from Los Angeles. It would have been very easy to sort of have this space. I'm originally from there. I live in San Diego now. And so to come back and be able to have my mom come, I'm an only child. My mom's a single parent. And so there was this sort of really immense, wonderful moment of being in the studio and seeing my mom in that moment and having us both have this sort of relationship to her mom having been on a show with Trebek and me having been on it. There's been this sort of like really great, almost full circle for us to be in that sort of space. And to make it even more ridiculous, right? Afterwards, we had gotten to know Dave, and my mom turned to me on the ride home and she was like, "Well, I guess that means I also have to be Dave's mom." And
Moms.
I was like, "Don't make me
Oh my
cry
God.
on a Thursday, madam." And it's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a fun connection
That is
has
sweet.
sort of come out of all
Well,
of
I
this.
am so thankful for our connection to the two of you. I'm so glad that we got to have both of you back on the Alex Trebek stage, and I'm here for it. I'm front row for whatever the Brohawks are going to do. We're lucky to have you in our Jeopardy family.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
That was a blast. I feel like maybe we should have, not every week, but every couple weeks we got to check in with the Brohawks.
Yeah, I want to know what they're up to. All I know is they bring great energy, great fun, so much fun on the stage, so much fun to have them in the pod. Well, Buzzy, that brings us to the end of today's show. We're going to be back next week to discuss the conclusion of the Champions Wildcard Diamonds group. And we'll also be highlighting the first two games of the Clubs group. And according to Dave and TJ, the Diamonds are the best of the group. So we're
That's
going to
right.
have to wait and see what the Clubs bring.
Yeah.
And we're also going to be joined by the Champions Wildcard winner of the Diamonds group. So make sure to tune in today to catch all the action.
The Diamonds may be forever, but, the Clubs is 50 Cent's favorite group from this wildcard competition. Anyway, I cannot wait. As always, please subscribe to the podcast and follow us at Jeopardy on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Twitter/X, and we will see you next week.
See you then.
Ken, what's that thing the kids say?
You mean smash the like, subscribe, and bell button so you'll be the first to know when we upload more great videos?
Yeah, that's it. Do that.